Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Drinks and Dave's live show brought to you by Skynet Industries.
We
How you
are
doing?
watching you.
How you doing, Dave?
Hey, B Dave. That's great. I was watching our intro, and so everybody should know you put that together for us.
Yes.
So very cool. And you said, hey, send me a clip of this. Every time I watch it, it looks like my finger's going to get stuck in that flame when I light that lighter. Like I want to redo that one.
Well, we could do that,
Very,
but
very
just think, everybody's on the edge of their seats going, will the finger burn?
Is he going to burn it this time?
Right, exactly. So how's your week been?
It's been all right. You're it's the weird end of the year, right, where you're thinking about the holidays, and I think most people. I've got a week coming off right after Christmas,
Sure.
and so it's like trying to stay motivated. Like you're in vacation mode, except for like the whole month, right?
Sure. Oh yeah, I'm already like tick 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 waiting. But I planned it to where they're pretty steady days now through the vacation, so it's not bad.
Yeah.
But
And we got the big show. I mean, I know. So we'll tell everybody we've got 2 shows coming up between now and Christmas.
Mhm.
And we do have a guest who will be on one of those 2 shows.
Right.
And one of the shows for sure will be talking about Christmas. So I won't get into Christmas too much.
Right.
But I think we're good because we every year we start shopping later and later, I think, for Christmas. But then this year we nailed most of it pretty quick. And we started wrapping, and most of the decorations are up. So there's not going to be that flurry of activity. So
Right.
Well,
we had a little bit of and it never fails, no matter what I do, because at the beginning, when I go to put the lights out for Christmas, I test the lights before I put them on. I get them all on there, and I'll wait till it gets dark, and I'll go out there, and there'll be one section that's out. Never fails. Never fails.
Yeah. Do you have backup boxes?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's a smart way to do it. And are you the same way that it's going to look great when it's done, but you were like, I don't want to get the boxes out. I don't want to put the stuff up. And it's like,
no. I'm excited about that. A certain individual, doesn't like that, but no, we've got a system now, and it works pretty good.
Yeah.
But I don't go crazy with all the, the different, like I think everybody went through that phase where everybody bought the blow up stuff. Like the blow up Santa Claus. No, yeah. we're done with that. In fact, I want to go back to the way it was when I was a kid, when everything was made out of polystyrene plastic. You had the plastic Santa Claus, the plastic reindeer,
the injection molded Santa. I know.
Because no matter what you did, the worst thing that could happen to those injected molded things is they would get so dry that they would crack. And big deal. So Santa had a hole in his chest. Big deal.
Well, Santa turned pink after about 4 years, right?
Well, here, that kind of stuff melts too. So.
Oh, yeah. I wasn't going to say, so somebody had posted, and I think this is a safe space because hardly anybody watches this damn show anyway. But somebody posted a picture of their front yawn, and it was full of blow up stuff, right? And so there's 3 things I think that are cheating. Maybe I'm getting too much into the Christmas show, right? But the blow up stuff is weak, right? You just plug it in, boom.
But let's factor one thing in though. Let's factor the age of his child, and those things can be magical. Because can you imagine 3 or 4 years old sitting out on the lawn? Daddy plugs it in, and all of a sudden, all these characters come to life.
All right, I'll give you that. I just in terms of, I don't know what you want to call it, design aspect to it, right? It's the other one is the netting lights that I think they've gone away, but that was a trend.
No,
you would have this round bush with a square net on it, and you're like. Again, that's pretty weak.
Okay, yeah. And one final thing for Christmas. The one thing I do want to do though, because there's a guy down the street that has this computer controlled music, and the lights stay up year round because they're just thin, LEDs. But that is the coolest trend. But And the nice thing about it is it counts for, you can do it for Halloween, you can do it for Christmas, you can do it for Thanksgiving.
Now, does he set the music to it?
Oh yeah. In fact, when you drive by, there's a sign in his yard that says tuned to 92.6.
Oh, yeah.
And you just sit there. The problem is it's in the middle of a neighborhood. And so everybody stops.
Yeah.
And everybody's jockeying for position. So anyhow, that's enough of that.
Well, and this was going to be my third one. The people that just put that projector on the front of their house. Again, and I know you've got one. That's not most of your decorations.
No, but
some people, that's all they got, right? Is here's our snowflakes on the side of our house because I bought a light.
If I could find it, it would be there, but I don't know where I put it because I had one of those. So anyhow, what are you drinking tonight?
You know what? I decided so both of us have been curtailing on the spending a little bit, right? And one thing that kills me is every time I go to Costco, they've had Lagavulin in there. Mm-hmm. And I went to Costco today, and I still didn't buy any of it.
Wait, stop.
I'm treating myself.
Stop. You went to Costco during the holiday season? You, sir, deserve a silver star.
In the middle of the day. It was all right. Ugh. But I got Lagavulin. You can't see it again. Oak charred cask.
Ah, nice.
Can we get, there you go.
And are you smoking anything tonight?
I'm smoking a Daytona. Kind of the less expensive end of the Oliva line, I think.
See, I kind of balanced tonight because I need to publicly apologize to you because on the forum, I gave you a whole bunch of crap about a certain soft drink. And I said, it's blasphemy. You never ruin the name. But today, when I was at the grocery store, it was calling to me. And I'm asking for mea culpa because it is delicious, and that is the Dr. Pepper, strawberries and cream.
Yeah.
It's delicious.
And it's nuts, right? It's like you're drinking cotton candy lollipop.
Oh, it's wonderful. And it's zero sugar. I mean, and I figured with technology, I mean, I'm probably putting nanites into my body. And then for my cigar, I'm smoking a Perdomo 20th anniversary.
I love the label on those things.
Yeah, they're really good. But I want to welcome everybody out in the bar tonight. It's a little bit of a slow night. We had to, unfortunately, because we're not increasing our viewership, and this is where we can usually, we had to lay off Beulah. Beulah was a little upset that we had to lay her off from the bar.
And what PB drinking? He hasn't chimed in with that.
That's true. I'll bet you it's some type of whiskey eggnog celery mix.
Wow, that is disgusting.
But Stephen had a really good idea. Your dad had a great idea.
I posted that, buddy.
Oh, okay. Well, see, that I'm telling you,
you're here and you're not even paying attention to our show.
It's the aspartame. I'm telling you, it's the aspartame. And see, I used to call it aspartame because it sounded better.
Does it? That sounds more caustic.
It sounds more caustic. Yeah.
Probably strip paint with our aspartame. I think he came in third in the race, didn't he? Aspartame.
Yeah.
Coming in on the outside.
So before we get the show officially started, we need to know what PB is drinking because that kind of like starts the show, right?
Yeah. Dude's Googling something he's going to post. What's the rarest whiskey that you can buy? And that's what he's drinking tonight. Watch, he'll put like Pabst on ice.
Okay, speaking of that, I have never, because I know there's a lot of people that do it, that they'll drink beer on ice. Can't do it. We'll never do it.
What do you mean a lot of people? I've never seen anybody. Oh, dude is saving up for the holidays, I think. That's
well,
right.
but it says just water tonight, but what he's not telling us is this is artisanal water that's from the high Alps and Shambhala.
Okay. Now I gotta, do you remember this? That when on one of our cruises at the adult high-end restaurant you can go to, they had a water menu where it had to have been 30 or 40 different bottled waters. And one of them was like melted iceberg water. But some of this stuff was like $60 a bottle.
Wow.
And it had flavor notes and
really?
Yeah.
Wow. Well, see, you don't want to drink South Carolina water. Well, when we went on a cruise to Alaska one time, speaking of water, and we did this excursion, and it was to the what they call the Taku Lodge, and you board a float plane, and the float plane takes you out over all these glaciers, and then you land in the Taku River, and there's a lodge there, and the lemonade that they serve you for dinner, these guys go out and chip the water off the glacier. So it's cool. Glacial water. But, you get to thinking, and since we're in the technology phase, the world is millions and millions of billions of years old, right? And a lot of that ice has been around for hundreds of thousands of years.
Yeah.
So my question is, as you're chipping this stuff off, glaciers cut rock up. That's what they do. They grind rock. So you're getting this microparticles of microbes that could be 150,000 years old in your system when you're drinking this pure glacial water.
Thought you were going to go to like dinosaur urine. Like if
it could be. Yeah, I can see it. Yeah, T-Rex saying, "Let me see if I can write my name." So anyhow, are you ready? Because BB told us what he was drinking. So I understand that you picked the topic tonight. The topic is technology. So with that being said, I need to prepare for what we're going to be talking about.
Oh boy!
So give me a second here.
Are you safe, buddy?
There. I needed to put my tin hat on just to make sure that.
Wait, you stole the household tin hat? She let you wear that?
No, she actually made it for me.
Oh, that's love right there.
Okay, so.
No, it's not. It's not about evasion of privacy and all that stuff. Because we already went down that road, didn't we?
Well, a little bit, but
I mean, I was just thinking, that we could have a conversation because last time I brought up that we bought a new TV, and it's amazing the technology you can get in the TV for like $300. Listen, if there's no cone on top,
there was a cone.
Focus the energy.
Well, the problem is there was a cone.
Hey,
there
now
was
you're
a
just
cone.
attracting the energy.
Listen, I'm wearing, but it's the official Drinks and Dave's logo tinfoil hat. Actually, you know what? This is really warm too. This may be a new marketing. The Drinks and Dave's tinfoil beanie.
Yeah.
So I'm going to let you kick it off.
Right. Well, so we talked about that, right? About how much technology you can get for a very low price now. Mm-hmm. And then you heard about this on the Cadre Zoom call, so you have to hear it again. But I keep seeing all these ads on social media for those ear camera things, right? Mm-hmm. You have this whatever little camera and you see inside your ear and you can clean out the wax and all this stuff. And I always kind of thought, well, I kind of like to see in there because they say if you use a Q-tip, you're just shoving the wax in there, which I'm like, okay, if that's true, then it would be all full of right after so many years of using it. How much more space would there be left? But so I thought, anyway, it'd be interesting to know for sure.
I look like a chef at one of Guy Fieri's places.
Leftovers.
Yeah.
And so so I got a deal where I didn't think it would even show up because it was like $6 or $8, and it did show up, and it worked as advertised. This little doodad, won't the camera do that? The camera got to be small enough to fit in your ear, right? So
I warned you. I warned you.
So I get this thing for $6 or $8, including shipping, that has Wi-Fi built in. So it Wi-Fi's to your phone. It's got a light and it's got a camera with clear resolution. It looked just like the videos where you can go inside your ear and clean all that out. And I'm like, what, for under $10 you can get something?
Did you bring it with you for show and tell?
No, I did not. Should I show a picture? I can post pictures next time. Here's the inside of my eardrums are beautiful. I know that.
And we had this conversation. The thing that scares me, hey Tathra, the thing that scares me about that is with a Q-tip. With a Q-tip, you go in and those commercials that talk about, oh, you're going to ruin your eardrum. I mean, it's like they're starting from here and they're jamming it into their ear. No, it's just the outside. But what scares me is whenever you shine a camera into Okay, and I apologize if anybody
Are we
takes this
saying with
wrong.
technology?
Well, yes, it is technology, but I know that everybody in the bar is going to take this the wrong way. But when you stick a light and a camera into an orifice, the problem is what I'm afraid of. Well, the ear is an orifice, it's a hole. Okay, but what I'm afraid of is there's going to be eyes looking back at you.
Wouldn't you want to know that?
No, I would not.
No?
I would not want to know that because
Right.
all I need is to be sitting there looking at my phone, trying to clean the earwax out of my ear and have this thing go, "Hi, how you doing?" No.
Oh, all right. So anyway, I just thought, the amazing amount of technology you can get for small amounts of money and, how far we've come in our lifetime. So we could spend some time talking about what we thought was, um, what's that? What's that supposed to mean?
That wins the internet tonight. So you put a $6 camera in here. Aren't you a nurse?
I don't get the cameras for free, buddy. I got to buy my own. There's certain things you would not want to use economical type of things in medical procedures, but your ear is just a big.
But Tig Lily has a good idea. After if I'm reading this correctly, after it's in your ear, you can just use that camera on your front door, and that can be your front doorbell camera. So
maybe, I guess if people got really close. All right,
so that's
so tell me.
Technology.
So your turn. I can keep going, but do you have a technology you've encountered that you've just been like, wow?
Yeah, actually, the thermoelectric humidor. That impresses the heck out of me because, as you know, I lost a bunch of cigars in an old wooden humidor. And the nice thing about the thermoelectric is it heats, it cools, you've got the humidifier in it, and it stays stable. So all the cigars are in great shape. So that would be one thing.
Wait, so the people don't know, it's some kind of a metal membrane where you apply electricity to it, and one side is cold, and the other side ends up dissipating the heat with no movement of anything.
Right.
Yeah.
It works on almost the same principle as a piezoelectric in a quartz watch. It's the same type of thing, and it's quiet and it works great. But speaking of technology, as you and I are both into watches, and even though it's old tech, just the technology of being able to microsize all these wheels and components. So I guess you could argue that's technology of an older type.
Right.
But other than that, I mean, every time I look at my cell phone and I realize it has more computing power than what it took for us to get to the moon, yeah, that's pretty impressive. I will say that. And some of the new technology.
Well, with the watch, it's that technology happened, 150 years ago, which makes it amazing. I mean, like, you think about trying to fabricate those little things by hand now with what the tools we've got, and I'm still amazed.
Well, my wife, before she retired, was an electrical engineer, and I'll never forget, talking about getting blown away by technology. I remember one time she came home with what looked to be a CD. It looked to be just a CD disc, right? And I looked at it, and it had all these really fine lines, and they were all in a grid pattern. And each one of those, and there was probably, she would have to chime in here, but there must have been 5,000, and they were all actual microprocessors.
Yeah.
And
that's
to me,
mind-boggling.
Yeah, just some of the stuff that she worked on is just incredible. Just incredible where technology is going. And when people talk about, them injecting you with stuff that could heal the body, it's coming. I mean, it's in fact, you would know better than me, but I would imagine in the medical world. Well, look at is it called the Galileo system? That it's a robotic system that does heart surgery. Yeah, I mean, if our parents, or my parents, anyways, when they were in the medical field, if they would have seen that, or let's say somebody from the 50s, if they were to see that, that's Buck Rogers. I mean, that technology is Buck Rogers.
Yeah.
And then GPS, everybody has a GPS, whether they're in their phone, their car, or anything else. And that was a high-end, top-secret military thing for years.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and just thinking about, so you just ran through a whole bunch of stuff, and I wanted to talk about, like, so I've heard, that's been and said and somewhat agreed upon, I believe, that the number one biggest leap in technology was the transistor, because that's led to all computing, and computing has led to all the stuff we have now. But I remember asking once, what's up with computers? Why is it that when you turn them on, they don't work the same way every single time? Because you've got zeros and ones, and you have a program that should run the same lines of code every single time. But as everybody knows, sometimes your computer locks up, or there's an error, or whatever, when you're doing the same thing that you've done 100 times, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the answer was, to me, is that these microprocessors are so shrunk down that you're operating on, and now I just forgot the name of it, quantum mechanic type levels, that the electrons are so close to each other they can cause interference with each other and create error, just because you're they're so small, and that's
Well,
amazing.
well, yeah, and the thing is, and going back to what she used to tell me, is that especially in the quality control aspect of it, they do everything they can to try to destroy it. So the reliability of these items, microamps, there you go, and but there's so much that's going. I mean, well, for instance, when I was growing up, Dick Tracy was really big. And Dick Tracy had this really, really cool watch that you could talk into.
Yeah.
Well, lo and behold, we've got the Apple Watch. Here it is. And now it's second nature. My concern with technology, and we might as well go down that rabbit hole now, is that I think when computers, when things don't run right, or they do now, when you go on Facebook or you go on YouTube and you click on something, the next thing you know, it has built an algorithm that seems to think, hey, he likes this type of stuff. Let's give him more. And I know that that's just code that's lined out, but the technology is, and this is just in its infancy. I mean, it really, really is. It's amazing. I'd like to get some comments from the barflies as to what kind of technology blew them away, because we've got a good mixture of ages here. Like, what was the first thing that they remember that was like, wow,
Yeah. Well, one I'll bring up now is integration of technology that you don't even realize happens. So I told you that with the latest iPhone update, I didn't know it was going to do this, but if you have Apple AirPods, when you're listening to something, they've got a new setting where you start talking and it automatically lowers the volume of what you're listening to. And if you keep talking, it pauses what you're listening to.
Right.
And it's that kind of stuff where I'm like, these are some freaking smart people. Like, the usability of stuff just keeps increasing and increasing.
Well, part of that same update, and what we're talking about, for those that don't, we're talking about the Apple, the most recent iPhone update, 17.1.2, I think. And another thing that they did on there is it made, as a default, if you have a phone near another phone,
right.
in the old time, we would take out one of these and say, hey, give me your phone number, and you'd write it down. Now you just take your phone, put it up to the other guy's phone, and boom, it transfers.
All right. So yeah, here's your just trying to make life a little bit easier. You got your hands full of stuff instead of setting things down. You just.
Well, and speaking of that, I thought that any of my vehicles had that. But what I found out is, as I was trying to get my trunk to open up, there's also exhaust pipes under there. So what I found out is it just burned my foot. No, but on the back of my car, underneath, right by the license plate, there's a button. You touch the button, the hatchback comes up.
Yeah. So. Monorail. That's interesting, because that seems like that's just all electromagnetism, right? But and look who has joined us. We were afraid he might not come in. Welcome.
Good to have you, Rich. Is here. And Rich is here from a wonderful handbell concert.
Handbell concert, yes. So,
But
the other thing that happened with our new TV that caught us by surprise is that integration. So we have the Ring doorbell, which integrates in with Amazon Alexa, and our TV integrates with Alexa. So we found out there's some things that it's like gimmicky. Like you can say, "Hey Alexa, turn the volume up by 5," and it'll crank the volume up on your TV. Somebody rang our doorbell. All of a sudden, the TV switches to ring, and the whole TV is the camera on our front door. We had no clue it was going to do
really,
that. But there's the TV to the Alexa to the Ring doorbell all meshed together. Boom.
and I can see where that could be good, and I can see where, like with all technology, there are good things to it, and there are bad things to it. Because I can just picture saying, Dave, this is Alexa. Thank you for your purchase.
No. And actually, we turned it off because we were like, I'll get up and answer the door if I want. I know it's the dude dropping off dinner. Don't
Right.
pause. No, it's not a Fire TV. It's just a Samsung, but it has built-in compatibility. I mean, again, all the stuff that's integrated now is. I told you this was our first 4K TV, and I thought we have an Apple TV box, and I thought we'd have to upgrade that to the 4K. Well, no. Apple TV is integrated into this TV now, so we don't even need the separate box anymore.
Right, that's the way our TV is. Paramount Plus, Hulu, they're all integrated right into the TV.
Here, Dave, you want to address this?
With T-Bit, if you get hacked, they know all kinds of stuff. Well, I have a plan. If we discover we're hacked, whoever the hackers are looking at me through the TV are going to get a very, very big surprise.
Well,
that's all I'll say on that.
And so again, I would have to say, yes, there is big data, and it operates down to the personal level, like you were saying, where they'll personalize ads and things like that. But what are they going to learn? They're going to learn what you watch on TV. Ain't no government, it's advertisers and stuff like that want to sell you stuff that care about that. I'm fine with that.
Well, this is an interesting one because I didn't even know this. I didn't even know about this, so I'll have to have an off-show discussion because I don't remember that.
They are
or should I actually tell her that I was outside with the remote going click 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 click?
So this is so again, we didn't want to get into the.
I agree with this part. I agree with you also listening.
So okay, we didn't want to. We just want to talk about technology. But we're going down this road, right? So there are people that measure devices for exactly this type of a thing. Because, so example, Amazon Alexa, when you talk to it, it wakes up and then it will send your voice questions or whatever into the internet to know how to interact with you, right? Until you say Alexa and wake it up, it's not sending anything off. And there's people that test for that because it would be a huge invasion of privacy if they do. And yet not everybody, but people that are into the conspiracy theories and stuff won't believe it. But there are people that do test because every now and again, I remember there was some device that was a beta whatever and got out for testing, and it was continuously sending out stuff, and it was a huge kerfuffle, and they said send it right back. And because
well, remember Ring went through that, actually. Remember? Ring went through, they had the CEO of Ring on one of the local morning shows, and they were asking him, hey, did you get all that fixed? Because apparently the Ring doorbell was sending data to advertisers and stuff like that. I don't know the whole story, but he did say, yeah, we've locked that down.
Okay, so there's different things here too. Oh, we're off the rails, Dave. Off the rails. So this is different. There are people that can hack devices, and that's different than the device being built to continuously listen and view and stream stuff. Okay, and so there's a different validity to that. If you don't want anything in your house that can be hacked, then there you go. I mean, don't do that. That's just like how if you have a laptop, good practice is putting a sticky note over your webcam, just to avoid that type of a thing.
Well, but see, it's funny in all of that. Go back to that one for just a second.
Yes, sir.
And I did not know this, but see, my big question is not that somebody on the dark web and there's a picture of a woman in a bathroom. What I want to know is, I didn't even know there was a smart vacuum. I didn't know there was such thing as a, and why would your vacuum need a camera on it?
God knows. Our vacuum has a headlight, and it will measure the size of particles it's sucking up and show you on a graphical display how many of what size of particles it's sucking.
Oh, okay.
Why does it need to do that? There's absolutely no reason it needs to do that.
But this is an interesting one, and I'll let you take this one.
Right. So I was going to talk about this because this is also something that's been explained, is that your phone knows where you are and it knows who you're around because it knows where they're. So like if you and I got together, our phones know we're near each other.
Right.
And if you've been looking up trips to Tahiti or whatever, and then I come and spend time with you, that information all goes up into big data to the advertisers, and they can start sending me trips to Tahiti because I was around you. Right. It doesn't mean that it was listening to our conversation or anything, but it does do this whole, symbiotic where you spend time, who you spend time with, and sharing of the information, that type of way.
Well, and the conversation that we have in our household is, I look at me and I look at my life and I'm like, what is anybody going to want from me?
Right.
I mean, I'm not involved in, high levels of top secret type stuff. And I'm like, and I will agree with what Lily says here. At best, technology can make people lazy. Okay, I will agree partially to that, saying that yes, it makes, but lazy and convenient are two words that I think can be flipped around.
Right.
Because convenience is not necessarily laziness. And and this is just my personal opinion, but I would love to have a humidor that I'd say, I would like to have a Flor de Oliva, and have the humidor open up and a hand comes out and has the Flor de Oliva cigar in it. That's lazy, but it's also convenient.
Right. So let's take this back, because it also allows you to have more time to do other things. Yeah, I'll get to the toilet comment. Don't worry about that.
You knew what I was laughing at. See, we don't need technology because you and I can read each other's minds.
Right. See? Well, that's because of the nanites and stuff.
Just call me Sonny.
So remember, back in the day, when there started to be huge commercial farms, that meant not everybody had to grow their own food, and it allowed people to specialize in other careers and explode our society, right? Mm-hmm. This is the same type of thing, but on a personal level. Yeah, I can look up on a map. I had the Thomas Guide. I know how to read a map. But instead of spending 10 minutes before I go somewhere looking it up and writing down how to get somewhere, boom, boom, you type it in and it tells you how to. Is that lazy? Just because it's more efficient and you're using technology to help yourself?
Well, and my argument, and before we get to the other comment about the toilet, I'd like Barbara Dave's Penhaligon's English firm. See, I have that locked down under 14 firewalls. So I'll let you take the lead on that one, on the one we talked about.
Well, I just want to say it's a little chilly out there. That's all.
But see, now the way I read that, if you don't care about privacy, just put your toilet in your front yard. To me, I would do that just for the shock factor, to watch people driving by going, did he do that? And see that's why, and call me a 4-year-old, but every single Jackass movie I absolutely love, because these guys do things that, like, well, the one time he went into a Home Depot and took a dump in a toilet. I'm sorry. I know that's juvenile. I know it is, but it's the shock factor.
It is. Okay, but so let's make it clear, though. There's a difference between technology, the way it's designed, and then people being nefarious with it, right? We're not talking about, and you can, like I said, you can make that argument. So if you do not want anybody to have any ability to invade your privacy, you cannot do online banking, you can't have any smart devices in your house, any of that kind of stuff. And I'm sure somewhere along the way, you say, well, I'm going to agree to have this many devices, but these I can live without. Those are fine. Wherever you want to be in that continuum, but
Well,
you
I
can't
think
online bank and then
right.
say, I'm all about privacy. Nobody,
Well, I think what it comes down to, and I think some people may not admit it, but your dad said something really, the washing machine was one of the greatest tech events. Sure was, because people were sitting there scrubbing on basically beating stuff on a rock, and yeah, other stuff. And that's really, I think, there's two sides to technology. There's the engineering side that says, hey, let's create this machine where all somebody has to do is throw a bunch of clothes in it. It'll clean them. Now, even in just recently, now they have washers that are also dryers. So now you only throw the clothes in once, 2 hours later, it's done. So I think that there's the good side of technology where it wants to help people, make our lives easier. But as you said, there's the nefarious side that is going to figure out, okay, and I think that's what people that don't like the technology are worried about, that it is going to turn into something
sure.
For instance, I mean, already police departments and everything else, if you're walking down the street, they've got facial recognition software that's in every traffic camera everywhere. It's there. It's done.
Yeah.
So I think that that has.
And it's interesting this gets brought up because I'm all for this. Like, people say, well, they shouldn't be able to know where we are unless, you get a court order, and same with some of the traffic camera stuff. I'm thinking, if you broke the law, they ought to be able to use any type of technology around to say you were there, you did this. You know what? You don't have any defense if you're breaking the law. But anyway, so let's get kind of along these lines. And the thought that maybe it makes you lazier, maybe it's a negative, not like the invasion of privacy, but is there a technology that you wish wasn't around?
See, in our household, we're split because I embrace it all. I really do. I think it's good. Now, let me preface that. The reason why I embrace all this technology, and I think Rich said it earlier, where I would love to be able to go up to my Breville machine and say, espresso latte double shot. And all of a sudden, you hear the Star Trek noises and blah, 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 and there it is. I love that, because to me, if we're ever going to get to the point where we travel the stars, and it is going to happen, it's not going to happen in my lifetime, but if we're ever going to get there, we're going to have to embrace certain parts of artificial intelligence. Because, for instance, let's say we find a planet that's 150,000 light years away or 150 light years away. There is no way that humans, from a resource management standpoint, will be able to operate that ship. There won't be enough food. You can't make a ship big enough. So the AI portion of it, we're going to have to embrace if we're going to travel out there. So to me, I embrace the technology. Yeah, there's certain things about it I don't like. Yes, but all you can do is try to accept it and use it to your advantage. In other words, don't let. And I know where people get worried that eventually, especially with AI, that sooner or later it's going to become self-aware. And if it does, let's say, God forbid, it does become self-aware, there's not a darn thing we're going to be able to do about it anyways.
No. There's a couple things that I'm surprised we haven't come farther with. That's one of them. I mean, they have made.
I want to go visit where Steven's at. Because I want one of those.
Yeah. What you were saying is that it's just putting different molecules together differently to make everything in the universe, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it seems like that if we can, miniaturize electronics the way we can now, how far away are we to just, you can have a machine that has basically all these organic components and you make your tea or milk, or I know they make steak meat, like fabricated meat that tastes like meat and looks and feels like meat. So it seems like we can't be that far away from that.
I think and there is the argument to be made that a lot of this technology, what we're seeing in the marketplace and what we're seeing in science, and to answer that question, yes, absolutely. I jump in right out of the gate.
I'll go after you.
Well, there's this line from Star Trek that says, they're still looking for Captain Archer's or Admiral Archer's Beagle, because Scotty had teleported it and they don't know where it's at. So, but no, I think that the technology, it gets to a point where, you have to, I don't know, it's a personal thing, but I think for us to advance, we've got to embrace at least part of it, in my opinion.
So, what's funny about this whole teleportation thing, and again, setting aside we're in human bodies that need activity for our health and stuff. I was walking from, where we park to my office, which is, walking through the parking garage, across the street, through the hospital, and I was just thinking, with all the technology we have, there's an awful lot of time being used moving bodies from one place to another. And that whole giving you free time to do things, just think about commuting to work, right?
Oh, sure.
And some people that have these, hour-long commutes and stuff that take big chunks out of their day, it would seem like we would be much farther along in the moving your body from one place to another type of. Now, teleportation, I get that's like way out there somehow, but the fact that we haven't come up with better. You see those dudes on those single wheel things, they hold them like between their ankles, and they're like, those are so, I would break my hip at my age and stuff, but that's the way to do it right there.
Well, and I think it all depends. I think technology, and I know I keep geeking out on Star Trek, but when you think about it, because Star Wars is more like a fantasy. Star Trek, if you look at all the things, like the flip phone, that's the communicator. I
keep telling you that was not a documentary, Dave.
Well, exactly. But like if somebody said to me, hey, listen, we figure out a way, we can get to Mars, you'll be the first colonization of Mars, would you go? It wouldn't even be a thought. Let's go. In the technology to get us there, I'm fascinated by. I really am. I'm fascinated by technology, and I do know that there is negative stuff that can be done with it, but
yeah,
I don't think I can. The only thing that scares me about teleportation is like what happened in The Fly. What if you get into the teleportation device and the fly flies in there, and the next thing you know, you're.
Well, and this is
look, perfect. Bruce, he's been here 10 minutes, but do we know that he's been here 10 minutes? Does the technology tell us he's been here 10 minutes?
Right. Maybe yesterday he got here 10 minutes ago.
What is that? What is that saying? Tomorrow is just your future yesterday.
Yeah.
So
just like that.
So yeah, I think that everybody, and I do see what you're saying about the hypocrisy in some things, is that people will use the technology, but usually that'll be the first time they say, "Wait a minute," it's breaching that gap between, invasion of privacy.
Well, so can we point out that people have counterfeited checks and driver's right? So whatever is in use in society, they print their own money, and so they'll take advantage of whatever's out there. So this isn't new. It's just might be more just because you can touch more people without stealing their checkbook. It might make it easier or something.
It's funny you mentioned that about driver's license and stuff like that. One of my clients is a manager of the DMV here in the state of Arizona. And a big joke that was going around Arizona was that we are now, when you go in and get a new license or you get an updated license, you don't get the credit. How they started doing the credit cards where you get it immediately? Nope. You get a black and white piece of paper.
Yeah.
and then your license comes to you. And I asked him, if I said, what, aren't we taking a step backwards in technology? Because before you just walk in, they shoot your picture, they put it through the lamination card machine, boom, boom, boom. Well, the nefarious side of things happened. People were counterfeiting all of that. So the state said, nope, we're done, because somebody hacked into the DMV database.
We have virtual driver's license here now. It hasn't worked yet, but when you go through security at the San Francisco airport, there's an app you can download, and you put in your information about your driver's license, and you're supposed to be able to then, instead of showing your license to security, you just get a QR code that has all your information on it, and you zap that. It hasn't worked out yet, but so this is then, to that point, I was just gonna say, so like our dollar, our paper money, they put in all these security features trying to outwit the counterfeiter. Same with this, you get like holograms on your driver's license. And so that has to be just as much a part of technology. And I think maybe, you're always trying to outwit the criminals, and maybe technology's moved slower than the criminals have in these instances. And what we need is a breakthrough in security around data and internet. And that whole, you went from having to have a code for your phone to your thumbprint to your face recognition now. Right. And I'm all about, I'm sure at some point it is going to be like in the movies where they're doing, because one of the most secure things is supposed to be your retinal image on the back of your eye. Right. I know they use it some places, but I bet that's going to get used more and more frequently. And so the tougher you make it for people to log in as you or whatever.
Well, and it's funny. I got to post this because I'm very impressed with the fact, because I'm a movie person, and I'm impressed that Tig Lily knows this. I heard a while back that San Francisco has okayed the use of deadly force with RoboCops, not received well. Unfortunately, Sharon, I hate to tell you, it wasn't San Francisco, it was Detroit in RoboCop.
Oh, was it? Guns. Yeah.
Well, no, and I get it. Those people that don't embrace technology, I get that too, because a lot of people will argue that life was so much simpler before we had technology. I remember growing up as a kid, your mom would always say, hey, do you have a dime or a quarter in your pocket? What do I need that for? Just in case you need to call. But go ahead, try to find a payphone anywhere.
Yeah. All right, so teleportation. Everybody except Tig Lily probably looks forward to that, right? That'd be cool. Just you don't have to get in your car and plan for traffic and all that stuff. What other technology would you be looking forward to?
Well, I know one that Tig Lily would like: automatic self-planting trees.
They're called seeds, dude. You just
no. You go onto the internet. You say, okay, I would like an oak. I would like it 10 feet tall, and I would like it planted at this location. Enter. And the next thing, you wake up the next morning, and boom.
That's actually interesting, because you talk about it makes you lazy and all this stuff, right? So if you could just say, here's what I want my front yard to look like, and boom, it's done. It's like, okay, then now what? But if you're making a commercial property and they could do that, that would be much more efficient and all this stuff. But then you would still have the people that want the dirt in their fingers and to plant it and be more of a, artisanal hobby at that point.
Right.
Yeah.
But for instance, okay, when they had to take all those trees out in front of the Bellagio for the Formula One, would it be great if the Bellagio says, okay, race is over, plant all the trees right back here, click, and they're there,
Yeah. The more realistic thing I would really like is faster international travel. And I know that we'll get there at some point. The Concorde, it's sad that it had to go away. And they talk about things where, they'll shoot you up into not even low orbit, but just high enough that the Earth will rotate and then you'll come back down and that kind of thing. But, talk about, technology expands your world, just information right now, right? You get news instantaneously from everywhere. It would be nice to travel without as much of a hassle as it is now. And we say that given 100 years ago, it was much more of a hassle than it is now.
Well, I mean, it could take you months to get across the United States, months, But the way and to piggyback off what you're saying, if you could step into a travel portal, for lack of a better term, and say, okay, we're going to go to Paris. So you step into the portal, and pretty much you walk through one side, you walk through the other side, and you're in Paris. Well, that does two things. One, you've saved money on airfare and the hassle of going to the airport and having to drive and park. Secondly, on your destination side, you've probably got an extra 3 days to spend money in that location.
There you go.
It's a positive. So, to me, that would be great, because I think most people nowadays, aside from the cruises and stuff where you can relax, but I think people, if you were to measure people's blood pressure as you go into an airport and get ready to board a plane, I guarantee it goes up 20 points, because it's a hassle now. And if you could be able to do what you're saying, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one of those things where I think technology, well, it's like anything else. Technology can be used for good and it can be used for bad. And unfortunately, you have, kind of like the yin and yang, you have to have both sides of it. It's not going to be one side or the other. And eventually, we'll probably get to the point where we'll all look like the people of WALL-E. We'll be sitting on chaise lounges and everything will be done for us.
Yeah, that sounds a little bit boring. The other one, I'm surprised that we haven't gone farther than we have now. Again, getting to Star Trek, is the tricorder thing, the medical thing. And you're right. We're slowly making steps, like if they need to sometimes, instead of scoping the inside of your body, you can swallow a pill that has a camera in it, and it makes its way through, and it's transmitting data all the way through, and then you're done with it. But it certainly seems like, I'm surprised that we haven't gotten farther with, like, drawing some of your blood and knowing, like, every disease that is developing in your body before you get symptomatic and things like that.
Well, and I think that there's a, and I don't know how advanced the technology is, but I know that a couple of the DNA testing sites, have, I think 23andMe is one of them, where, you get tested and you may have a gene or something that can cause, and you can tell your kids, you can look for it. So I think that's a positive way of getting towards that, in that. But yeah, I mean, being able to scan somebody and say, okay, you've got this, and this, or you have the possibility of getting this, and this, let's cure it. So I think technology is needed in certain aspects. I think that, it just depends. And when we get onto the other side of thing, technology is the biggest thing right now is AI. And that's, to me, the AI part of things is the one that has the most benefit, but it also has the most detriment, because we can't lose control of that. And that's the problem, because, well, I don't know if you saw that, but they had the two androids that they built. They actually started having a conversation with each other, and it was kind of scary. Now, I don't know how much of that was made up. I mean, I don't know. I haven't seen the data on it, but they were talking about, are humans really necessary?
Well, that goes along with the whole that's moving super fast, right? Because 10 years ago, it wasn't even really a thing, right? And now you can say, hey, write me a research paper on whatever, and then boom. And so that's where, like, the protections need to keep up. But when technology is moving so fast.
Well, and you brought up, and Stephen brought up a real good point, that the 23andMe website was hacked. And so information. So even though I love technology, I won't do a DNA testing because of that reason, because and again, that's the problem. Technology is moving as fast. The hackers are moving faster. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. And I don't have an answer on how you can stop that.
Well, I guess then that's the new business to get into, is hacking. Yeah, just join them.
Yeah, it's one of those subjects that helps us as far as our day-to-day lives, and it can hurt us. But cruise control. I remember, I mean, when I was growing up, there was no such thing as cruise control, and now we look at it as ancient technology.
Yeah, I think I told you this once that a couple years ago, before COVID, we were going to our holiday party for our department, and I was driving some of the staff. And when we were coming back, get into the Tesla, everybody gets in, put it in gear, and go. And it was cold, right? And this girl goes, "Oh, you don't have to warm your car up. I forgot about that." And then she made the comment like, these automatic cars just kind of make you lazy. And I'm like, how does that, you don't have to turn on the autopilot. You don't have to use cruise control. But like, if I'm stuck in traffic, rather than my blood pressure going up to here and being frustrated and all that, I can put it on and relax and have a much more pleasant experience.
Well, how does that work? Because I don't know. How does the autopilot work on the Tesla?
Well, the one I have won't do, turns in the city and stuff like that, but you can set it for how close to be from the car in front of you. Mm-hmm. So when you're in stop and go traffic and you get that close, it'll stop. And when the car in front of you starts to move, it'll start to go. And, you'll have your speedometer, your cruise control set on 65, but it's stop and go traffic. So it'll only go as fast as traffic allows. So,
I can see where in a congested area, that would be a plus. That would definitely be a plus.
Yeah.
Well, and that's just it. I mean, I think everybody's a little bit afraid when people like Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos or any of these guys that are pushing the envelope of technology. And to me, and I know this may riff off some people, but to me, when I look at Elon Musk, I see somebody that is pushing the boundaries of technology. I like him. I like what he's doing. I know a lot of people think that there's conspiracies around him, but this guy's spending his own money to watch billions and billions of dollars of rockets blow up so we can do something.
Well, personally, he's a jackass. Yeah, but the technology. You're right, though. Is it? And to Major Rich's point here, you don't have to take advantage of this stuff.
Right.
So I'll drive to work on autopilot, so I don't have to think about staying in the lane, this and that. And Rich will, rev up his car and enjoy the drive. And, you can have it. You don't have to have a smartphone. You can just buy the Twitter bug or whatever phone and,
mm-hmm.
Just memorize your phone numbers, which I could never do. And,
Well, and I think the laziness part, I think what it does is those of us of a certain generation that had to do everything manually, we still can't. I mean, I know that there's people right now that if you pull out a map, they would have no way of knowing how to read it. So I think, it's a double-edged sword, but to me, it's all about, if I can, if I can do something or if I cannot do something that a machine can do, so I can enjoy my family, or I can enjoy doing something else, then I'm for it.
Yeah. I'll say, and so medically, this is huge too, because now that your medical records are all electronic, all of a sudden you can look at the vital signs and diseases and, of thousands and thousands of people, and then decide what treatment works for the most people. Right. And things like that. And so you couldn't do that when it was all on paper. Plus you were guessing at what the doctor was writing, and, you'd make errors all the time anyway, based on that. So.
Well, and to speak to your point about, who would have thought that something that you wear on your wrist could be an EKG? I mean, you can send in 5 seconds, I can send an EKG to my doctor and he can say, okay, this is good, this is bad. So I think from that standpoint, I think it's amazing.
Yeah. Plus the Chinese know. And if they've got a cure for you, then maybe they'll reach out. They'll say, hey, comrade, $5,000 and we'll sell you. Is it comrade? I don't know. What would the Chinese call you?
No, yeah. I mean, so, but what's funny though, is there's certain technologies that haven't changed in hundreds of years. The elevator. Perfect example. Elevator really has not changed that much.
Yeah,
It
that's
really
crazy. You're right, and that's crazy.
Yeah.
Right? Why is that?
The escalator. I remember the first time I went to Chicago Airport and they had and Tigley had said something earlier about that. Is that the first time you get on a people mover, those walkways that are flat, you feel like you're a superhero because you're walking and you're looking people that aren't on it and they're just like really slow. But then you realize that you have a dismount. You have to
I still
dismount
love
this.
those things, right? You're taking those long strides and you feel like you're running like Bruce Jenner or something. And yeah. No,
And PB brings up a good point. The irony of tonight's show is the technology that brought us together is our interest of non-technology hobbies. And, and I need to say this, that during COVID, prior to COVID, I had no idea what Zoom was. I had no idea what Teams were. I knew nothing of that. And the one thing that Zoom or platforms like StreamYard here has done is it's brought us together. And I remember during COVID, and you remember this, Dave, our family at the Cadre is tighter than it's ever been. And that's primarily due to the fact that we have Zoom calls every other week. We have game nights. You can put faces to the name. So you could argue that technology has brought us closer. I guess you could argue that point.
Hey, you're right. Yeah. Yeah. So what of it, Bruce? I don't have many accents. I don't know what to. In fact, if I tried to do a Chinese accent, I think it'd be more offensive than the Russian accents.
Well, I'd be, and it's interesting that you look at, because I remember growing up, we had a console TV that had a bar in it, it had a record player in it, it had a TV, and it was one of these big, huge consoles, and that was like 2001 stuff there. That was like, but where I get upset with technology, where I don't think we're far enough, is when you look at a movie that came out in 1977. Okay, or actually earlier than that, I think it was 69 actually, that 2001 came out, or 71, something like that. And we were already going to Jupiter, we were already doing this, we were already doing that. And then you get to 2001, 22 years ago, and we're not even close. And that frustrates me, because if somebody can imagine it, because every one of those computer screens on like the HAL 9000, all those computer screens, we didn't have computers then. So those things were filmed. Each separate computer was filmed and brought. And so if somebody could imagine this happening, then why aren't we there yet? That's the part about technology that bugs the bejesus out of me, is that we're not there yet. And I know it costs money and stuff like that, but come on.
Yeah. No, yeah, Rich, I mean, you're right. But like I pointed out, the same thing happened before technology is what it was. And PB's right. Is where's our robots cleaning the house? And we do have a Roomba. We got a Roomba.
The only reason I want a Roomba is I want to put my cat on it and make a video of him riding.
Would your cat sit on a Roomba?
I think he would. The cat,
that'd be worth it.
The dog would probably eat it, but that's, but back to what PB was saying about the Jetsons. I mean, a lot of the technology in the Jetsons we do have, and they've been talking about flying cars here for 20 years, and there's all kinds of videos of this is the next best thing, and yet it never happens.
Yeah.
I mean.
All right, buddy. So we don't know what's happening next week yet. We may have a very special
guest, right? And we'll know, and what we'll do is we'll put a post. So make sure you check the Drinks and Dave's YouTube page, because we will do a comment as to who our special guest will be. If it's next week, if not, it'll be the week after. We should know sometime by midweek. But before we go, since we've got a few minutes here, if there's anything that the Barflies want to ask us, because we kind of flew through a lot of stuff tonight about technology, or tell us what technology that you really, really like.
Well, this is true. The watch phone thing took quite a while.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, and I would be curious what technology somebody's looking forward to.
Yes,
coming out. The thing that strikes me too about things moving so quickly is music. Right, like the CD when it came out, that was amazing, right?
Mm-hmm.
you would hit the stop on your remote. I remember that. And there was
Right.
no noise. The music just stopped.
Yes.
And that was like, oh my gosh. And start and just boom, this crystal clear music. And see, I don't, I guess we're old. They probably lasted longer than I thought, but they came and then they went and they're gone already.
Well,
Right?
and the thing is, yeah, if somebody says, "Hey, let's put a CD in," dude, join us in the 21st century here. But you could say that with records. I remember talking about technology that advanced. I remember there was a video game, and remember the arcades? There was arcades everywhere, and there was a game when it first came out. It was called Dragon's Lair.
Oh yes.
And it was like, when you saw that, it was like, oh my God, it's like a cartoon that you can play. Now, they were horribly unreliable. They were always breaking down. But then I found a couple years ago Dragon's Lair that you can play on your phone, and it's the same game. So, it's, yeah.
Wasn't that a laser disc?
Yeah, it was a Laserdisc game. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, it was fantastic. I can't tell you how much money I dropped in that machine over the years.
I remember that was tough though. Your timing had to be right on, otherwise.
Well, and remember bowling alleys? When you actually went up to the desk, they gave you a big sheet of paper, and you kept score with a pencil. The first time I saw automatic scoring, it was like, oh, we have arrived.
Makes sense. Now this is interesting because this does frustrate me, because I've wondered why our battery technology has increased tremendously, and yet our phones, you still got to charge them up every day if you use them somewhat regular. And I've always wondered, why is it that the phone doesn't last like 3 days at this point? And I read it's because they keep increasing processor use with new features and this better and that better. Now you power the anti-jigger on your camera lens and all this stuff, so they keep using more battery power. I wish that you could say, well, I want a phone without half of this stuff and it'd last 3 days.
Sure.
That'd be nice.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, it would be wonderful to do that. Because nowadays, I mean, well, like I said, when you look at I remember the first computer we had was a Gateway 386. And I mean, an AOL, you'd get the, and that was internet. Or Web TV. I don't know if you remember Web TV. That was kind of the first internet stuff. And it just amazes me where we've gone to since then, because, and I remember when I was in school, the technology for doing a research paper was a big, huge cabinet full of encyclopedias. And now, you want to know, oh, that's right, it was a Packard Bell. That's right. But see, when you talk about technology, though, quick story. When we bought our first Gateway after the Packard Bell, I think I was inside finishing up the deal, because at that point, that Gateway computer, when they had the Gateway stores, was like $3,000. And it was like, oh my God, we're going to spend that money on a computer. Blah, blah, blah. And my wife was sitting outside, and there was this homeless lady sitting near her. And I can't remember the whole story, but Sharon was thinking something or said something, and the lady kind of knew what she was talking about. So it's like, the technology of the brain, that to me is what's going to scare me. If they unlock everything that our brains can do from a processing standpoint, then we're in trouble. Because then, you'll hear, oh, I'll be back, that kind of stuff. Because could that feasibly happen? Well, I mean, they're working on organic nanites. They're working on AI. Could Skynet actually happen? Sure. If we're dumb enough to give the artificial intelligence and technology to control certain very sensitive things, then we're asking for it. Because think about it. If the technology gets to the point where it can replicate, then it's going to look at us and go, what's the point? Yeah, that's a really good one. I had one of the bag phones. I had one. It put out 5 whole watts.
Didn't it have lead acid battery too, or something in there?
Yeah, they were lead acid batteries. Yeah.
Well, and it's funny because you mentioned having a computer, and it got to the point where that's what you did your homework on. Now the kids sometimes will be writing papers on their phones. They won't even. They're like, no, it's only a couple pages. I'm just going to do it on my phone. It's easier than turning it on the computer. And
there is one subject that we have to breach that we forgot about during this whole thing. Chat GPT.
Yeah.
Pros and cons. What do you think?
I haven't found a pro for it yet. I mean,
exactly.
to me, that's the. I mean, I guess I'll just leave it at that. I don't know much about it. I know that, like I said, you can say write a paper about this, and it's like, well, at that point, what's the point in doing it, right? Like the reason you normally write a paper would be for you to learn something. So you haven't learned anything.
Right.
You're just checking a box. But I know that it can change. Okay, so the benefit would be is I know you could write up a letter or write up a paper, and you could say, rewrite this in a professional voice. So if you're not good at writing and you use it to supplement what you've already done, that makes sense to me. Like on my work computer, I have what's it called, Grammarly installed. Because I'm terrible at writing, and is it a hyphen word or not a hyphen word? So I'll be typing out, and you get all these notifications. You correct. So to me, that's wonderful. If you're using it like that,
right,
that's amazing. If you can change the tone of your your thing, or it says move this paragraph here.
Well, and what's funny is because that seems to be the buzzword in technology right now is the Chat GPT or the AI style software that's out there. I mean, for instance, something as simple as Nextdoor. If you want to make a response, their AI algorithm comes in and says, that sounds a little harsh, and it'll rewrite to make it sound like it's all fluffy. Well, to me, when it does something like that, it's like, no, I wanted it to sound harsh. There's a reason, because this guy was complaining that one of the wheels on his shopping cart was squeaky. Who cares? But the thing that with the Chat GPT, and I've got one on my phone, it's called Da Vinci, where you can type in anything you want and pick a genre, and it'll create a photograph of whatever you typed in. Well, the problem is we're a very visual society, and being a visual society, what are we seeing that's true and what are we seeing that's not true? And if you get somebody in the news media that decides to do that,
Yeah. Well, that's right. But also, Chat GPT is a couple years old or something.
Yeah.
So again, from going to nothing to where it is already,
you
imagine 20 years from now. I mean, I know this will be a way old technology, but
sure.
Yeah.
Anyway. It's interesting. It's one of those things where you don't. I guess to me, the question to ask with any technology that's coming is you have to ask yourself the morality question, because I really think it comes down to, is it benefiting me? Is it helping me? Is it making my life easier? Well, those are moral questions. They really are. They're moral questions. And at the point you say, I don't know if that is something I would want it to do, then that's going down that path. So I think each person has to individually make that decision. I mean, now the first time somebody says, "Oh, you must get an injection to put a locator on," yeah, now you've gone too far.
All right, buddy.
All right, well, everybody, thank you so much, and please look forward to the next two shows. I wish we could say more, but we can't. But we've got some really, really exciting news that I hope all of you will like. So make sure you join us next week at 6 p.m. Pacific. We hope that your Christmas shopping is going swimmingly, because I was out there, and people seem a little bit on edge this year for some reason. At least here. I don't know about there. But anyhow, so we'll see you next week. And I hope that everybody has a wonderful week. And say good night, Dave.
Night, Dave.
See you guys all. Thanks for joining us. Bye-bye now.